everyone, and thank you for joining us. I want to make sure that you can all hear our audio, so go ahead and type us a message if you can't. My name is Emily Sicorsi. I am the Vice President of Corporate Communication for TTI Success Insights, and we are presenting today's webinar and welcoming you all to Eliminating Bad Hires, Finding a True Talent Match. So a little bit housekeeping before we get started. We will be recording this webinar and we will be having it sent out to you just directly following. Give us a few hours to process and we'll send it out to you. If you have questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and type them into the questions tab on GoToMeeting. And thank you everybody who chimed in to say you can hear me. Also, we will be live tweeting our webinar today using the hashtag TTISIChat. So if you would like to take notes via Twitter and go ahead and share your thoughts on the webinar with other people out there, we encourage you to use that hashtag. And you'll also see us doing the same thing as we go through the webinar today. So a little bit about TTI SI. So we believe that all people have unique talents and skills of which they are often unaware. So we exist to reveal and harness those talents using what we call the science of self. For over 30 years, we've conducted research into human behaviors, motivators, EQ, acumen, skills, and now stress to determine where the best talent in the world resides. And we have a network of over 7,000 distributors globally in 90 countries and 40 languages using our tools to help hire and retain the best talent in the world, which leads to better productivity and profits for organizations the world over. So it's just a little bit about us. And along the way, of course, we have dealt with hiring and recruiting and selection. And that's really the topic of our webinar today. So I want to introduce you to Adam Wong, and he is going to help us kind of work through these slides and have some discussion. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here. Yeah. Love talking about hiring in any way we can help.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll be going through the slides here in just a second. And we also have some poll questions that we'll be asking you. So the poll questions will pop up on your screen, and then you'll have a few moments to respond to them. And then we will look at the results of those polls together. And that's kind of a fun way to see the data live. So those are also our handles, Adam's and mine, there at the bottom of your screen. So if you are on Twitter, go ahead and send us some Twitter love. We always appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. We love engaging those conversations.
Yes, and we will respond. Okay, so we want to start out with a why question. So first, I mentioned those polls. We're going to put one up on the screen here in just a moment. So first question is, if you are working in this space, what is your annual employee turnover? So go ahead and select one of the following. Is it 0 to 25? Is it 26 to 50, 51 to 75, 76 to 100? Or maybe you're just not aware. You don't know. Maybe you don't track it yet. But this gives us a good gauge for to understand, how many people how much turnover you experience in a year. So
how many employees are leaving the company? You have to refill those positions. Looks like about half of you have responded so far, so we can get a few more in there. That'll give us a good little data set. All right.
Okay, good.
It's always interesting to look at how this changes from one webinar to the next.
I know it is. It is really interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and then share the results with you. So there we go. Your annual employee turnover looks like most people just pretty low, 0 to 25. Of course, that could be for smaller organizations, a higher number.
It definitely could be. It could be an indicator of the size of businesses that are here with us today. So we have some, maybe even some have 0 turnover, maybe some startup companies, and then we have the 51 to 75. All right, so big cost factor there, and then don't know.
Oh, so that's interesting.
So not sure.
Yeah. So obviously that's probably a good piece of data to have if you're working in this space. But we encourage you to, maybe this will help start that conversation to really look and quantify what that employee turnover might be and how that's affecting you. All right, so with that done, we're going to kind of launch into a few slides here. So why discuss this topic? Why is this of interest?
Oh my goodness, I think we can make several reasons as why. It was employee performance, organizational performance, those of us that are focus on ROI, talk about how does this affect the bottom line of the business. So I think all of us can kind of conjure up several reasons why we want to look at employee turnover. But how about this next slide here?
Here's a good reason.
Staggering stat.
Here we go. If the slide wants to change.
Nope, does not want to change.
It's going to change all at once, and we're going to move forward 6 slides.
There we go.
I knew it! Okay, there we are. So this is the one I was talking about, Adam. 80% of employee turnover is due to bad hires.
That makes me cringe.
Yeah.
So of all the people that you're hiring, 8 out of 10 of those, you actually deem them as bad hires. So what are we doing wrong here? How are we still making hiring decisions that aren't good for the organization? And I think we can all identify several reasons why. We often hear of, we didn't have enough time. We just had to get somebody in. We just had to get a body in here. Or, we just have to fill this specific position. Or it's, they seemed right. They seemed like a good fit. They interviewed well.
Right.
So we want to identify some of those myths a little bit later on.
And now look at the cost. So the cost to replace that bad hire, according to our research, is 5 times that person's salary.
Yeah, that's pretty average. If you look into Gallup, so Gallup puts studies out that'll say it's about 5 times a person's salary. But this will vary on position, it'll vary on industry, and we actually encourage you just to do a little analysis of your own. Right. So identify a role that you have some turnover in. Look at, what is that person's salary or the position's salary? Look at what's the opportunity cost. So what's the cost of actually having a good person in there? Maybe look at productivity and then start to quantify how much does it really cost when we hire somebody that's really not a good fit.
That doesn't work out.
Yeah. So it can really vary.
Okay. Let's go to another stat here. Some estimates for the total cost of bad hires in just the U.S. at $300 billion, and that's a stat from Tech Systems. So staggering.
Yeah.
Staggering. When you add it all together, small organizations, large organizations, the impact to productivity, that's a big number.
And it's no surprise to see more and more companies that are kind of popping up in the space that we've been in for quite some time, trying to help businesses identify the good people, identify the ones that are a good match to their companies. So it's no surprise that we're seeing more companies pop up today.
So earlier we showed our estimates for the 80% of 80% of employee turnover is due to bad hires, but we want to understand from your experience what that number is. So I'm going to launch another poll here. So in your experience, how much does it cost to replace a bad hire in your organization? So let's quantify this for you. What do you think it costs you? Is it less than $25,000? Is it more towards 50?
Yeah, we're talking double the salary, triple.
Yeah.
Do you not know?
Right. Have you hired for executive level? So maybe it's upwards of $100,000. So go ahead and weigh in there if you haven't had a chance yet. We'll just keep it open for a couple more seconds. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to share the results.
All right. So it's the majority are in that less than 25,000. So 39%. We have quite a few, about a third in the 26 to 50,000, and then look almost a quarter in the 51 to 100,000, and nobody in the 100,000 plus, and then a few in the don't know.
Right, but less than the other polls. So.
Yes, the other poll we definitely had some in the 100,000 category. I think we even had more in the don't knows.
Yes,
on the previous webinar we did, and because there is a lot to look at. There's a lot of factors that go into quantifying how much a person actually costs to replace. And but as we can see here, we definitely are. I don't know if you want to say wasting money, but our businesses are costing us money when we're hiring the wrong people.
Yeah, when we hire poorly. Okay, thanks everyone. All right, so $190,000. This is from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. This is the cost of a bad hire in a small company, because in small companies, employees often have a lot of different roles to play. So This is a problem that could be more pronounced and more impactful at a small to medium-sized business.
It really could. I mean, just imagine if some of you on the call today are in a small business, and you can probably look around at your employees and see that some of them juggle multiple tasks. Or maybe they're actually doing a little bit of several jobs just due to growth, or because you are a small business, you have to kind of share the workload. Well, that person starts to learn a set of skills that are specific to the company. And when they leave, the cost of that person leaving may be more. Or if it's a bad hire from the get-go, that cost may be much more, because you have to find somebody who can come in and replace that person. which in the bigger businesses, oftentimes their jobs are more streamlined and they have less kind of crossover, where the small businesses, we have a lot more of it.
That's so true. All right. So obviously today we are here to talk about eliminating bad hires. And for us, we really feel that begins with something called job matching, which we'll get into more later. But the benefits of taking a job matching approach to hiring, we just wanted to kind of discuss those quickly.
Yeah, just hit some key benefits out there. So benefits of looking at a job and then comparing people to the job and finding ones that really match well. Like, what are some benefits? Well, one, it can save you a ton of time in the long run, right? So if you're hiring people that match the job well, match the organization well, it can save you a lot of time and money in the long run. Decrease disruption. This one's probably pretty key.
Yes.
So you're hiring good people. They become engaged. They engage with the culture, engage with the job. It decreases disruption within the organization, within teams. Really, it's overall definitely a great thing to have.
There's probably nothing more disruptive, maybe than organizational changes, when you have somebody come in who does not fit the culture, because it has a really corrosive effect on your good performers in a lot of cases.
And kind of something we throw out that I don't think is in any of these slides is, hire slow, lay off fast, or fire fast if you need to, because it's definitely make sure to keep that culture healthy. And another benefit of job matching is increase your engagement, increase your efficiency with your hiring process. It can actually save you time in the process once you get it down.
Right. So why kind of focus here? We have one more poll question. So I'm going to launch it right now. It's up on your screen. How long does your hiring process typically take? So is this a process that takes less than a week because you're super efficient, 1 to 4 weeks, 5 to 10 weeks, or more than 10 weeks? So tell us, on average, how long does your hiring process typically take? And this is the last poll question, so last chance to get your opinions and your experiences quantified here. So go ahead and jump on there. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to share those results.
All right.
Wow. Looks like pretty fast here.
Yeah, so just over half, 1 to 4 weeks, about 25%, about 5 to 10 weeks, and more than 10 weeks.
Okay.
All right.
Kind of a split between a month to more than 2 months.
Yeah, and I know we've kind of take the stance of, allow some time for applicants to come in. If you don't already have this database of applicants to go look at, allow applicants to learn about the company, learn about the position, whether you're using some kind of job board system, whatever it is, but just allow some time for applicants to come in before making the quick decision. Because there are a lot of jobs out there these days, and applicants have a lot to look through.
That's true.
And with all the job platforms out there, like Monster, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, there's so many, is that you don't know where your best applicant's going to be.
That's true. Time is key here. So this is a survey of 6,000 HR professionals worldwide, and they were asked why bad hires, what did they attribute that to?
Where is it coming from?
So how did those applicants not actually turn out to be good hires?
So overwhelmingly, and we probably hear this one the most, is we need a body. We need to fill a position. We have extra work to do. We just have to get somebody in the door. Where that may seem right in the short term, but what happens if you hire somebody who isn't a good fit? And what do they do to the team? What do they do to the culture long term? If they're still there.
I think it's really interesting on this slide, Adam, that 34% said it just didn't work out, which is sort of very vague. But, could be a cultural fit, could be somebody who maybe presented themselves maybe not with the most honesty in their application process, which kind of leads us to number 20, or the 21% answer. Company didn't test or research the employee's skills well enough.
Right, so they weren't using any kind of pre-qualifier, maybe looking at past skills or current skills, using any kind of assessment, if that's what the company's approach would be, to use an assessment. And then the last one, the reference checks. Didn't perform adequate reference checks, or maybe background check could probably be lumped into that as well. A lot of companies starting to skip that.
Yeah.
Because back to the timing involved is they tend to skip it because it's not that important. I met the person.
And we need a body in the seat, so
exactly.
Let's hurry up.
Exactly.
Well, as people who work in HR or in hiring or selection, we have to look at ourselves first. So what we started to think about as we did our research on this is, what are the things that we are assuming are true and are tried and true during our hiring process that may actually not be true? And so that's what we're going to talk about next. So We believe a lot of our hiring practices today are built around these 6 myths of hiring.
Oh, I love this first one.
Yeah, so myth number 1, the black unicorn. The hiring process starts with a job description, right, Adam?
Oh, so wrong. So we often ask companies, so where do you start? Explain your hiring process. And typically it's, well, we go grab the job description, stop right there. How old is that job description? Maybe it's a year, 2 years old, or maybe we actually just Googled a job description for customer service, and that's one we're using.
Yeah.
Before you just start writing a job description, first get a team of people together.
Yes.
When I say team, it can be 2 people, 3 people, but a few people that know the company and know what that job should be doing, and start brainstorming. Why is this company, why does this job exist in this company? Right? So why do we need this role in this company? And then from that discussion, you can start to create the job description.
Okay.
But it really needs to be kind of a team effort to make sure you hear different angles of the company of why this position is important.
Yeah. In a lot of cases over the year, the job description itself becomes this mythical thing because they've added so much to it that it's 14 pages long, and it's this amazing person who can do everything under the sun.
Too true. Too true. Or sometimes you'll see a job description. You know, I mentioned some of the job platforms out there that is not descriptive enough. Maybe it's too short.
Okay.
So make sure, maybe we always recommend talk about the company a little bit on the job description or the job ad. So talk about the company, almost think of it as like a marketing way of like encouraging somebody to be interested in your company.
Right.
And hit the position, of course.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next myth. Excalibur. Myth number 2. I am unbiased when I hire, completely unbiased, right?
Yeah. So think of all those interviews all of you have been in, where you're doing the interviewing. I'm sure most of you have done interviews, and you're looking at people, you're meeting people. It's difficult to remove our biases when we have something in common, or when we kick it off on the right step and we just have a connection with the person. Well, we have to remember there are programs you can become certified in these days of knowing how to go through an interview. So there are actually companies out there, consulting companies, HR companies that are teaching people how to quote unquote pass interviews. So although we may think you have a connection, you may be duped, right? They may just be finding those connections in order to get their foot in and find the job. So have your ears and eyes open when you're going through those interviews and resumes too.
I think just admitting that you may be biased is half the battle, right?
Yeah.
Just having that awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. Myth number 3, the alien abduction. My hiring process isn't perfect, but hey, it's good enough. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's not perfect, but it's working. Maybe our turnover isn't too bad, but could it be better is the question, right? Could it be better? We were actually at the HR Technology Conference just last week and talking with some people about, how do they hire? What's their process look like? And we got down to talking about different technologies they use and assessments they use. And we just asked the question, how is it working? Well, it could work a lot better, but was the response we got over and over and over. And that but, there were several different reasons. But we don't want to train our team on how to do something different. But now's not the right time. And we always say, when you're talking about building your business with your people, it's always the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, the mermaid. This will be my daughter's favorite slide. Myth number 4, of all the resumes we received, we definitely ended up with the best candidate, for sure.
So we can kind of use the Excalibur one on this about the bias, is that many of us, we tend to think experience reigns all. Right? We looked at their resume. We know that they have the experience we're looking for. They have this exact education we're looking for. But our question is, what skill sets did they learn in that education and in that experience? Because somebody can be in a role for, maybe you have a requirement of 10 plus years in X type of role. Well, what if they're in that role in an underperforming company, and that person was a low performer in the company, yet they just happen to have 10 years, therefore they look good on paper. So we always say, very, very cautious about setting hard restrictions on experience and education requirements.
Okay. All right, off to the side. It looks like Bigfoot. Myth number 5, hiring is a time-consuming money pit.
Time-consuming, yes, it can be. It definitely can be time-consuming. But you can think of the other hand is, what if you don't take the time to hire the right people? That money pit can be much, much larger. And the consequences, aside from money alone, it can be much, much more significant if you're hiring the wrong people. So yes, hiring can take time, but you can also think that these are people you're hiring that are going to be impacting your customers, that are going to be impacting your business, and hopefully long term.
Right.
So we need to take the time to do it.
Right. And looking back at our poll, with only 1 to 4 weeks to hire somebody who's going to be there for years and years and years and years, hopefully when you hire correctly, the balance is.
You know, I think it's funny. We had this conversation a few weeks back about making purchases internally. And the question was, the last time we bought a piece of office equipment, we bought a pretty large printer. It's like, how many people had to look at the different quotes that we received? How many people internally wanted to put their kind of input into which one we should buy?
One selected, yes.
And there was like 6 or 7 people that wanted to weigh in on this copy machine. It's like, wow, what if we did that for all the applicants coming through? Yeah. So it's funny to think of where we kind of shift
our resources are put.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, the magic genie. Myth number 6, hiring tools, they're just used for hiring. So I can't really do much else with them.
Yeah, the kind of industry is really evolving a lot. And fortunately, we've kind of been here for quite some time, is that the tools aren't just for hiring. A lot of them you can use now for coaching, for long-term development, for identifying potential gaps that you can coach a person to.
Okay.
And so we're not just talking about a system that's going to track a person through the application process, but really using a tool that can be used to grow the person for many months, years to come. Yes.
Right. So we encourage you to release these fictions. They are fictions. Sort of first own them. You got to have self-awareness about these ideas that we're rambling around in our minds, and then release them and look to the future. So I know you mentioned you were just at HR Tech. Applicant tracking systems, or ATSs, they're very, very prominent now, and they're okay.
Yeah, they are. They're okay. There's a lot of options out there. Fortunately, there are companies for all different levels of business. So for small, mid-size, large, enterprise, they're all out there. But so what they do is they can help you save time, right? They help you keep track of your applicants as they're coming in. But when it comes down to actually finding the right applicant, that's where they're kind of lacking.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And so, but at the same time, assessment use is on the rise, and we've seen that. Large U.S. companies who use assessments as part of a hiring process in 2001, that was only 21%. Now it's 57%, and that's according to the Wall Street Journal this year. So assessments are being infused into the hiring process in one way or another, whether it's all applicants, some applicants.
Yes, you're exactly right. So the hiring process there's more assessments being used in that process. And referring to the HR Tech conference we were at last week, there's a lot of discussion about assessments, but also applicant tracking systems and how can the two integrate together, right? To make this easier for the consumer to access all their applicants, but also access these assessments. And so there's a lot of conversations being had between assessment companies and applicant tracking systems to find the right solution, as us being one of those. Looking for a way to track all your applicants, but at the same time, allow you to identify who's a good fit versus who's a poor fit. And
in those discussions, I'm sure you talked about safety and validity. That's how that is kind of the next generation, and as well as the combination of assessments and applicant tracking systems.
Yeah, safety and validity is always important. We have to make sure that we take care of the customer, make sure that they're not doing anything that they're not supposed to do. And there's a lot of laws out there that EEOC kind of regulates, and we know that not all companies know them. When it comes to hiring, you want to find the right person and hire. So we've got to make sure that we're covering the basis, and we are reliable and valid, and making sure that you don't get yourselves caught in any kind of deal like Target did. Those of you who may not be aware, a couple months back, Target did have a suit filed against them for $2.8 million.
The settlement, yes, was $2.8 million.
$2.8 million for unlawful use of a tool.
Right. So it adversely impacted a group of applicants. So we don't want to put you in that position.
Yeah. So if you are looking for a new assessment, just make sure you definitely ask your vendor, whoever you're looking into, for an adverse impact study.
So let's give the audience some tips here, Adam. So how to hire for job match, which again is the way that we recommend hiring for applicants or for new employees. Oh, somebody had asked Adam really quickly before we move into this, what a typical applicant tracking tool would do.
Okay.
Some clarity there.
Yeah, definitely. So an applicant tracking tool, it allows you, think of it like a little hub, a little software where all your applicants are going to come into one little domain. You have a dashboard and it shows you who your applicants are. Oftentimes it has their resume uploaded.
Okay.
It'll have like their experience, their education, and other that'll vary depend on what the applicant tracking tool provides. And then it allows you to, mark, is this somebody I want to look into more? Is this somebody I want to email? Is this somebody I want to call? And it really helps you keep track of the applicants and kind of tells you what you do with them. Gotcha. So it's basically just a tracking tool for you to say, what did I do with this person? Are they moving on? Are they not moving on?
Great.
And they're expanding though. So they're always expanding. And
these systems.
The systems. So they're getting more and more robust, and they're even starting to get into beyond the hiring part, but also into, okay, now that you've actually hired that person, now what? What happens next with them?
Sort of what we talked about earlier, development, training, that kind of thing, post-hire.
Yes, and these have really kind of spawned over the past several years, but now we're in a time where technology, it's still easier to create than it was several years back, so we're seeing more available, more options for you.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you for your question. So how to hire for job match. Let's go to tip number 1. All right. Oh, my slide doesn't want to.
It might jump ahead.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read it off as you're advancing. So tip number 1 is ditch the job description, benchmark instead. So of course you're going to need a job description at one point, but don't start there, right? You need to first have a good discussion with some of your team members to really nail down, why does a job exist within this company? And then if you can even go a step further of, what type of behavioral styles going to be a good fit for this? What type of skills are going to be required for success in this role? And then we call that the job benchmark. Once you nail it down, then you can start comparing your applicants to it. Not only applicants, you can also compare internal people you already have, because maybe you have people that are well suited internally, but once you have that benchmark, you can then start to compare people to it.
Okay, so once you have the benchmark as well, could you also write a job ad off of what you determine?
Yes, you definitely can, because you're going to need a job ad, right? You have to get a job ad out there to find some applicants. So once you determine what the job benchmark is, then you can use the language that you use there to craft your job ad.
Gotcha.
And also craft the full job description.
Okay. So number 2, be vigilant about matching talent to the benchmark.
Yeah, so this is where biases will come into play, right? So we say once you establish the benchmark, so you know the skill sets you're looking for, you know the behavioral style, what's going to motivate the person, education, experience, etc. Make sure you stick to it. Maybe even give yourself a little guide of, okay, this is what we're looking for. Now, how well does this person match up? We've seen customers create their own custom little scorecards to assign point values of maybe they're a good fit here and not a good fit here. Let's give 3 points up here, 2 points down here. But definitely stick to it. Don't let those biases come into play about, oh, they have a boat. I have a boat too, so they must be a good person.
And is it helpful to have other people involved as well in the process to keep you honest, so to speak, about sticking to it?
Yeah, we do recommend having at least a couple people involved in that applicant process. We like the idea of having at least 2 people in interviews, whether you're doing a 2-person interview at the same time or you split them up and then compare your notes later on. We always think it's good to have 2 different people interview the same applicant.
Okay. And what's our last tip here? Involve an unbiased person.
There we go.
Oops, I previewed it in the interview process. Who hasn't looked at any resumes, really?
Yeah, so this just kind of solidifies the unbiased approach, is that they're not going to be focused in on a specific experience or education they're looking for, that they're going into it a little more open, having a discussion with the person, with the applicant, and using more unbiased approaches to finding a good fit.
Okay, all right. Sort of counterintuitive, but I guess that works. Now, there's some benefits to not just the companies, but benefits to applicants. So
picture
talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Maybe some of you on the call today are already in a job that is perfect for you. But if you're not, maybe this will ring true. Imagine if there was a job out there that rewarded you appropriately, so you were satisfied every time you went to work, you were engaged, you were motivated, you worked with a team of people that you just love to work with. So it was easy for you to go to work. You almost wanted to go to work day after day. Those are the types of benefits we start to receive once we use job matching.
Okay.
Because we're aligning people to jobs that reward their skill sets they already have, rewards what's going to motivate them on the job. So it's more beneficial to the actual applicant looking for the job.
And if those people who are inherently invested in their work, they're going to probably want to have growth, and that growth will be inherently present in the work that they're doing. So there's opportunities for them to grow.
Job clarity. I love the job clarity. We could ask another question maybe next time is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your job clarity?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
With the evolution of jobs, often that can be lower, but if you have a good job match from a person to a job, that clarity is usually going to be quite a bit higher.
And the job benchmark that the applicant and the employer agree to provides clarity for them to hit the ground running and to continue to navigate their work on a day-to-day basis. Great. Okay, so we wanted to just kind of talk about Talent Management Plus. So Adam, what is Talent Management Plus?
So Talent Management Plus it's kind of integration of an applicant tracking system, but also the assessments and job benchmark built in.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a nice way to keep track of all your applicants, to rank your applicants within a matter of seconds to how well they match your job, you can look at what kind of skill sets they bring to the job, what's going to motivate them on the job, what kind of communication style they're going to have on the job, and you can rank them instantly. But there's a whole lot more other features in there. But the benefits it is it saves you a lot of time in the hiring process. It'll help you identify the people who match the job very well, but leaving those biased things out, such as experience, education. And it's a system it's kind of launching.
We've had it for probably about 10 years, but we recently reinvested in the system and updated it and made it a lot more user-friendly and beautiful, very easy to use. So. And
anybody I know we don't have this in the slide, but anybody on here today that is already using applicant tracking system and this kind of sounds intriguing, what we're talking about, would love to chat with you.
Yeah.
If some of the stuff we're talking about sounds intriguing to you, because we're also looking at, how can we work with some of the applicant tracking systems that customers are already using?
Good point. So we are offering too a opportunity for people to experience TMP, correct?
Oh, yes, indeed.
You bet. So if you go to this URL, ttitmp.com, first of all, that site will give you some more information if you are interested in learning more about TMP, but you can also sign up for a free demo of the site. Now, if one of our value-added associates who has recommended this webinar to you, you'll have an opportunity to tell us who that is so we can connect you with them and they can provide you a demo of the TMP system.
And we also have a little video on there that gives you a brief view of it. If you haven't already seen it, you can check the video out there too.
Yeah, great. So with no further ado, questions from our awesome audience. Getting you done right before the time. So if you have any questions about anything that we covered, whether it's the myths or the tips or how to be more unbiased when you hire, go ahead and type them into the questions bar or the chat bar. Adam, can you give us some examples of how maybe a job benchmark has been useful in developing somebody?
Yes. So once you can identify what the job really needs and what it takes to be successful on the job, and when you actually hire the right person, it's inevitable. The person you hire is going to have some gaps.
Sure.
So maybe there's some skills they need to develop. Well, that can kind of give the plan to create a development plan for that person. So maybe they were lacking teamwork skills a little bit, but everything else was a great fit.
Okay.
Well, now the teamwork area is something that you can focus on with this person. Right. You can use it in onboarding. You can use it in development. And then you can look at it again later. So maybe you go through a 3-month little program of teamwork development, and then you look at others. So what else was lacking? So it just creates that framework of ongoing development for the person, but also for the company, of course.
Right, and that doesn't require that everyone be an absolutely 100% perfect match all the time. If there are areas where they're lacking, you can use the information that you have to help them grow.
Yes, in fact, we kind of go with the Marcus Buckingham philosophy. He created strength finders, and it's focus on the strengths that are your strengths. And when we look at the job benchmark, we look at focus on the skills that are important for the job. So it's not too valuable for us to be really good at something that has nothing to do with our job. It's more important for us to focus on the skills that are important for success in the job.
Gotcha.
So that's where we try to spend our time.
Okay. Well, we did have somebody ask where they can get the slides. Those will be mailed out as well, emailed out along with the recording, but I don't see any other questions. So Oh, wait,
there's
no,
a
we
few.
do.
There's
we
a
have
few.
a few pop in
They
all
were
of a
hiding.
sudden. Let's see. Somebody asked, you said the system is an applicant tracking. Does this include job postings?
Good question. So this does not include, TMP does not include job postings. There are a lot of companies out there that we'd rather partner with, such as like ZipRecruiter or Indeed, because what they do is you can put a job posting that hits a lot of different job boards.
Okay.
But within there, you can have a link directly to our assessment.
Okay.
So it'll take them right into our portal.
Okay, so that was another question someone had. How do you get applicants into the system?
Oh, good. So it's actually as simple as a little URL. So whenever you have a job opening, the system creates a little URL for you, and you give that little URL to any person that wants to apply for the job. Okay. They simply click on it, and it takes them right into the application. So you can put this on your company homepage. You can put this on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Monster, Career Builder, any of those. It's simply a little URL that they click on.
Gotcha. Sounds easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. I think, and then we'll wait a couple seconds to see if there are any other questions about TMP or anything else we've covered. Doesn't look like there are, Adam. I think we are all set. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Again, if you want to review anything that we, I don't think that one. Nope. So if you want to review anything that we've talked about, I would encourage you to look at the Twitter feed. Again, that hashtag was #TTISI chat, and you'll be able to see all of our live tweets. Our handle on Twitter is TTI_SI, so you can look there. We'll also be sending out the recording and the slides for your perusal shortly. So again, thank you all very much, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you all.